out of which manufactured goods is 97%, not any of the natural products, is manufactured goods. Electronics about 60-something billion, apparel, clothing, which is not rocket science, is 32 billion. Footwear, 20-something billion. So if you end up making more money from footwear than Nigeria was making from oil. Our income from oil last year is just barely about 18 billion. So then from that export, they generated more revenue, more in terms of export income. We are not getting anything as a nation. And we have all this problem because we are not productive. Our factory, you look at our manufacturing to GDP contribution today is 8%. For every other developing country, is above 15. Ours is, the 8 is not even, we're not even sure is correct. I'm sure it will be lower because most businesses have collapsed. All those who are doing genuine business have met, from Nasima to man to everybody is telling me a business problem. You need to bring back immediately, reverse that situation, which you can do as quickly as possible by focusing on your micro, small, medium businesses to be able to support them, and supporting them is not difficult. It's something I know. I came from that. You need to do something immediately about power because you need it to drive this process. Doing power issue is not a problem. Egypt doubled their power. Egypt doubled their power from 2015 to 2021 from 26,000 megawatts to 54. This is the third biggest country in Africa. They are producing 54,000, produce 4,000 effectively, and you're 200 million. They are 100. The second biggest country, which is South Africa, in terms of economy, is doing the same thing. Nigeria was producing in 9 days, they cannot produce more than 4,000. How did I know that? Because the first money we borrowed in this country was 1964 September, when Tafa Balewa wrote the World Bank to give him $82 million. If you ask government, they say it's used for capital project. I don't know which capital project. You are in Port Harcourt, East-West Road. So if today, 58, if you take it at 50 trillion, 10% of that is 5 trillion. 10% of 1% of that is 500 billion. Half a percent of that is 250 billion. Are you saying that in the capital East-West Road is not important? That you cannot put half a percent in it? That shows you that money was consumed. And that's what I'm saying, that if we get it right and start borrowing for investment, that is where we'll start. When you start pulling people out of poverty, this criminality that the keynote speaker was happening on will start reducing. That's what they used in South America, they used in Asia. The more they pull people out of poverty, the more you reduce criminality, because this, once you do have millions of people who don't know where the next meal will come from, you have criminality situation in your hands. So you have to start pulling them out. You need to start investing and do proper investment in security. Nobody here knows our manpower in our security. Nobody knows the investment. All you hear is that this billion was spent in security. Nobody knows where that billion went to. So you need to start ensuring that proper things are done.
Recording in progress.
The next item you need to deal with is education. Your human capital is very low. It is very low. It's unacceptable. You are now 152 out of 158 in human capital. It it is very low. The more you invest in education, depending on your development, and this is easy. We have 200 million people. If you look at just our diaspora remittances, our diaspora remittances today is about $19 billion for a country of 200 million people. Egypt, will about 100, is almost hitting towards that reason they've invested in education. So if you go around the world today, you see people, taxi drivers, you buy everything from Egypt. You can't see them from Nigeria. These are some of the things countries like us that are big have done. Bangladesh with 63 million is the biggest supplier of diaspora in Southeast Asia. Philippines have become an engine of supply of diaspora for the world. And they get almost $50 billion from diaspora remittances today. These are the so many things you can do. So you invest in education. You invest in, there's a few other things that, but I have only 10 minutes to speak, and that's, like I said, for me it's just a contribution, but I thank the organizers, and I assure you, if we get it right, what we, Nigeria is lacking leadership. Nigeria has only one problem, leadership. We have a situation where our sisters have been criminalized by gangsters who call themselves leaders. That is why today you can see the desperation when we are trying to run for office. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. It's better for us to carry guns to shoot people because we want to serve them. It is because we're not going to serve them. That is the problem. So once again, I thank you for the opportunity of contributing. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. We would have loved to ask you some questions, but we'll let you go right now because of your busy schedule. Once again, all the way from the Forum Nigeria, live in Port Harcourt, please let's appreciate him once again. Thank you, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have a few questions for our keynote.
Okay, so I've spoken, I came up with the mates, and we've talked and everything. So it's going to follow up, and then we'll take it from there, sir.
All right, so let's mute the Zoom now. Thank you. We have a few questions for our keynote speakers who are here present with us. And to co-moderate this session, allow me welcome architect Duboye Graham Douglas as he comes up. If your hands are free, please welcome him. Thank you, sir. The seat at the extreme is for you, the one at the extreme, sir. Thank you. Please welcome Pastor Itwa Godalo, our first speaker, to come up and sit next to the man who brought him, as he said, so that we will not be punished. Let's make you sit right next to him. Thank you, sir. Ambassador Dr. Victoria Komu, please, would love you to join us up. Yes, sir. Welcome. And of course, our AG from Oyo State, the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Oyelowo Oyewo. Welcome, sir. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you, sir. And permit me to sit right here. I'll pass the microphone over to Architect for our first question, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Pastor Itua, nice to have you here. Thank you very much for your wonderful delivery. It wasn't to do with punishment you came here, it was to do with our friendship more than anything else. And it goes a long way. My question to you is concerning what you said about those of us being here, being the enlightened, who are self-centered. I'd like you to expand on that and just tell us two things which we can take home to liberate ourselves from being self-centered and have an impact on who we think Nigeria needs as a president. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As I said, there are three main categories of Nigerians: those who are blissfully ignorant, those who are a little bit knowledgeable, but they are more towards loyalty and what they think of, and a lot of us who are knowledgeable, the elites of Nigeria, but we are thinking much more of ourselves, our income, our family, what's the need for us, how do we get our businesses going, and so on and so forth. For example, there is a conspiracy of silence. You know, a couple of years ago, my 60th birthday, I made an announcement. I called out the president. I said, how should he be going to London for medical help when he hasn't built a clinic in Aso Rock? All the medical help he's going to do in London, why doesn't he build a clinic in Aso Rock and bring the doctors to Nigeria? I called out Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I said, why is he even bothering running for presidency? Why doesn't he focus on transforming Lagos? And so on and so forth. I even mentioned the name of my brother and my friend, the vice president. And the next thing I hear, how can you be talking like that? They will finish you. They will do this. They will do that. They will do that. This and that. And everybody went silent. When I went to show up at NSAS to encourage my children who were protesting, not against the government, but against police brutality that we have been talking about, people came up again. Say, you are bold though. How can you go to NSAS? How can you do this? And so on and so forth. Some people even accuse me of disloyalty to the federal government of Nigeria. And again, there's this conspiracy of silence all the time. Because what we're going to eat, what we're going to drink, what we're going to wear, the few houses we're going to buy, consumes us. So a lot of us elites here, we keep quiet. We keep silence in the face of tyranny. And that's what Wole Soyinka said. When there's tyranny and the people are silent, the man dies in the face of tyranny. There's nothing anybody can do to you. Nigeria belongs to all of us. We're citizens of Nigeria. We're not second-class citizens. The truth must be told. Honesty must prevail. We must be fair to one another. We must tell ourselves the truth. And what is not good is not good. We cannot continue to be ruled by a bunch of bandits who do not care about the progress of Nigeria. You heard what Peter Obi said. 97% of our economy, or our resources, or our earnings is being spent on servicing debt for things that we cannot account for. And some people cannot go to school. So a lot of us here have to rise up and begin to speak truth to power, begin to take our place, identify who is a good leader from among these 13 people that have presented themselves, and choose that one person and say, if I perish, I perish.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Very impassionate. My question now is to Dr. Ekomu, please. The big question of ransom, to pay or not to pay. Are we innocently, indirectly funding terrorism? When we hear that ransom of 100 million was paid, we know that almost 100 million worth of ammunition may be purchased. So what do we do? Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Still standing on existing. The question of ransom. I know it's become a big question, even to the extent that they just enacted a law that is punishable to pay ransom. And when I heard it, I am against ransom, but at the same time, when you place yourself, because anything you have to do, you place yourself in that situation. Especially remembering that I was in fact a victim. They took me from University of Ekpoma area to Warri before I was rescued. You know, on their way to the creek or whatever they were taking me to, before I was rescued by Joint Task Force. Knowing that my husband had just fought his way out of their nest. If they had found out that I was the wife, just think of what they would have done to me. Is it ransom they would have asked for? Huh? It was on the front pages the next day. They say, security expert shot, wife. So, if they had successfully taken me to the creek, and they saw that front page, that it was in fact my husband that wrestled them, what would they have done to me? Would they have been asking for ransom? Would they have asked for ransom? What would they have done? They would have killed me. But God had other plans for me. So he saved me. I didn't get there. So I was rescued and taken to the Navy base. So when you really, that's why I say, put yourself in that position. If you are there, should they pay ransom for you or should they kill you? That's the question. So much as I'm against paying of ransom, at the same time, it's like being between the devil and the blue sea. Where do you go? All right. The two options are bad. If your child is kidnapped, and they say, would you say, oh, I will abide by not paying ransom? Anybody in this crowd, I want to throw it to you. Your child is kidnapped. No, I want to make it practical.
I'm about to answer.
Okay, you want to answer?
Because let me take a leaf from Pastor Itwa. I have a son who will be 20 this year.
Okay.
And we've had this conversation since he could understand English.
Okay.
Number 1, you would finish nursery 3. Number 2, you would attend primary 6.
Yeah.
Number 3, you would have 1 or 2 gap years after secondary school. And number 4, if you're ever kidnapped, you will not be paid for.
Okay. Amongst
5 things established. And why? With scriptures. So asking the question without a foundation of values might be difficult to answer.
Okay.
In my case, we've had 19 years to
talk about
it, to dissect it,
okay,
to see where Joseph was, where David was, where Daniel was, and what would have happened if ransom was paid or not paid, and how it was converted from bad to good. But we had that foundation. So my heart is strong. So the question now is, how strong are we? Thankfully, we are all here in the faith. Where is our faith?
So that's why I threw it open. Because, like I said, it's between the devil and the blue sea.
The devil who we have power over.
Do we pay ransom? Do we not pay ransom? So it depends on who is there. When I heard that, are we supposed to even be subjected to this situation where we are having to pay ransom?
No.
Also, I'd like to...
It's become a daily thing. It's happening every day.
I'd like to also say something about this. I think the very problem we have is that from the very onset, it was not nipped at the bud.
Yes.
If from the beginning, people had not paid ransom for people who were kidnapped, this kidnapping would not have happened again, would have stopped. Yes. That is what the problem is. But however, now that it is here, it needs to be approached very delicately,
Okay.
and I still believe that it can be nipped in the bud. Thank you.
Yeah. So, you know what I said? I said I do not believe in paying ransom. But the problem is that the job of government is, in fact, to protect you and I.
Yes.
But are they protecting us? At the time I was a victim, there were no checkpoints. Yeah, I'm sure you remember the time when Abubakar was IG. The checkpoints were, you know, they collapsed. They didn't have them. So you were just you were at their mercy. And now it's getting worse and worse, and nothing is being done. Meanwhile, you see the influx of these foreign people still coming into this country. Nobody is stopping them. So that means we are still at their mercy. So I think we should go to the root and stop them. And like I said, if we can get them out, which we can, it's just the political will to get them out. But we have not decided to get them out. Maybe we'll get a leader who is ready to get them out.
Amen.
So that we can sleep and travel. Because I like to go to my village, but I don't go anymore. Even to go and pay visits. So my husband was buried in the village. But I'm scared to go.
Yeah.
I mean, you can imagine that. My children want to go, but they are scared to go. Can you imagine something like that? So I think something has to be done about it.
All
If
right.
we cannot sustain this, it
Thank
has
you.
to change.
Thank you. Thank you. Please appreciate Dr. Ekomu. Thank you so much, ma'am.
The next question is for our Prof and San. When you delivered your speech, you talked about certain things which were on the exclusive list. I think people did not respond because they didn't understand what the exclusive list is and who is responsible for putting things on the exclusive list. Could you please explain and expound on it so that people could have a better understanding of what the exclusive list is? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I also stand on the exclusive, already established protocol. Now, that's the challenge about being a keynote speaker. You prepare a big, fat, so many pages of what to say, and then you have 15 minutes or 20 minutes, you start getting 5 minutes more, which scatters all that, and then you start jumping. Now, this will be Constitutional Law 101. I'm not going to charge you for it. When you talk about the list, each country has its own design about the way it uses its constitution to share power amongst the levels of government. In Nigeria, our sharing of power is done both enumeratively in the provisions of the Constitution. So if you look at Section 4 that talks about the legislative powers, it now specifies what sphere of powers is given to the federal government and the state government. And it now refers to what we call the legislative list. We have two kinds of legislative list specified in the Constitution. We have the exclusive legislative list, and in Section 4, those are matters that are exclusively, to use the word, within the competence of the federal government. This exclusive legislative list, the state government cannot legislate on such matters, and consequentially, executive implementation falls within the federal under Section 5. Now, for the states, also in Section 4, we have what you call the concurrent legislative list. And it's interesting that the concurrent legislative list specifies subject matters, and in these subject matters, it delineates, it sets apart, this part of this belongs to the federal government. So if you take education, for instance, tertiary education up to university level, federal government is prime in it. Whereas primary education belongs to the state government. Indeed, the federal government also finds its way into primary education, UBEC, Universal Basic Education, provision. But there are provisions in the concurrent legislative list that belongs to the states. Now, the question is, what happens if the federal government and the state government legislate on the same subject matter on the concurrent legislative list? Now, remember that I said that the federal government has exclusivity on exclusive legislative lists. They share concurrent legislative lists. Where there is a conflict and the federal government evinces an intention to cover the field, there is what you call the principle of covering the field. In other jurisdictions, they call it the principle of preemption. And what it means is that the state government is preempted or the federal government has covered the field, and which means that the federal government also has the preeminence on that matter because the law of the state will be kept in abeyance and the law of the federal government will apply. So what it means in essence is that in addition to the exclusivity of the federal government in exclusive legislative list, it also exercises exclusivity based on the principle of doctrine of covering the field on matters that both the federal government and the state government have concurrence. So which means that it's bad enough that federal government has this exclusive legislative competence. It now also have exclusivity where there is a conflict between it and the state. Now, the good thing is that since our government is a government of enumerated powers, what is not specified in the exclusive legislative list are not specified in the concurrent legislative list becomes what you call residual matters. And thank God, the state government has jurisdiction on residual matters. And you'll be surprised, even on residual matters, federal government will try to get into it and use some provision that says that it can establish institutions or some provisions of fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy to create institutional competence on residual matters. So
sir, please let me just jump right in. 3 things on the exclusive list that should not be there. Number one,
power.
So the federal government is 100% responsible for power.
For power, transmission, and all that. Except the ones that are in rural Europe. So that is going on now. There's a reform to remove that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second thing on the
railway.
list. Okay. And the third?
So federal government has exclusive registration of companies.
Okay.
So every company must go to Abuja. Why can't you register a Port Harcourt company in Port Harcourt and the revenue come to River State? So those are matters that should be, and there are so many of them, but these are just some of the, and then when it comes to bearing of arms, federal government is the one that says you can have arms and you cannot have arms. So even the state police that we are establishing like Amatekun, they can only have Shakabula. Otherwise, it comes under the firearms, So there are so many of them, but I think we need to deal with them.
Can I just ask? You said
minerals.
Please, let me.
Yes, minerals.
Okay, like you said, the federal government is the one that determines who carries arms.
Yes.
But in this case, with all the bandits, all the herdsmen,
they belong to federal
and
government.
they are on video. At times they are with these dignitaries with their AK-47.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it in your presentation.
You get what I'm saying?
You mentioned
Is it that they are authorized to carry? Because they are not arrested when they are carrying
They
this.
belong to federal government.
No.
I didn't say that too.
No, please.
I'm trying to ask.
No.
Because if you are saying it's exclusive to the federal government.
Yes.
And
we are talking within the terms of legitimate exercise of powers.
Yes.
There is the concept which he mentioned, which is the concept of proliferation of small, arms. And there are some people who carry these small arms, and that is the point that the presidential candidate mentioned. And that is one of the attributes of a sovereign state is that it has the monopoly of control of power of coercion. In Nigeria, that has failed. If somebody is carrying arms illegally and nobody challenges him, that means that the state is to blame if that person uses that arm.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, in the case of Reverend Father Mfra against the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the ECOWAS court found Nigeria in failure of maintenance of its power of security. And he ordered for Nigeria to take steps to make sure that those who illegally carry arms are disarmed and to provide security for all persons. Why? Because one of the primary duties of the state government, federal government, is the protection of life and property. So if anybody is carrying arms unlawfully, it behoves the state to apprehend the person, because there are laws in our statute book that will send that person to jail. So it is the failure of the state. It's a phenomenon that is recognized, that is common, you know, within areas where there are terrorism. The state loses control over the control of arms that the terrorists carry.
Thank you so much, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Thank you, sir. Our final question, just because of time, goes to Pastor Itwa. This question has been recurring by some of us here. How, in very practical terms, do we hold government accountable? And now that we're going into the next election cycle and many of us are going to support a candidate or the other, how do we build the path toward holding them accountable when they're sworn in about this time next year?
It's possible, but could be a bit tough. And we Nigerians have to take some very, very tough decisions. First of all, illiteracy has been weaponized. So a person that does not know good from bad, right from wrong, what GDP is, what a budget is, what government is supposed to do, it will be difficult for that person to hold government accountable. A lot of people who are armed robbers, who are carrying things up and down, selling things on the road, people who cannot go to school, people who don't have medical care, cannot relate their poverty, their situation, their circumstances to that man that drives on the road with siren and 12 or 15 car convoy. They cannot relate it. They think that the man is just doing his own in wherever he is, and they're just condemned by God to be suffering and selling things on the road, that it is the will of God. They do not know that because this man has taken their budget and their money, and he has bought a house in Port Harcourt, bought a house in Dubai, bought a house in London, bought a house in Lagos, bought a house in Abuja, and he and his children are living large. That is why they cannot go to school. So they don't hold him accountable. They don't think about it. So the first thing for us who know a bit better is to spend a bit of time, money, and effort educating the people who do not know. There must be education and information. The second thing for us is that instead of going all over the place begging these people for contracts, is to hold them to their promises and continually evaluate them. When your governor or your president stands up and makes a speech and tells you that this is what they have done, go outside and look and see if this is what they have done, and if you have gotten value for money. And you have not gotten that value for money, come out and say it. You know, there's a place in London called the Hyde Park Corner. You go there and say whatever you want. Go and say it on the press. Go and say it in the TV. This governor, you said you built this road for 120 million. By the time we looked at it, we think you spent 20 million on it. I can tell you categorically that we get only a small fraction of whatever any governor or government says they have spent on anything. And we keep quiet and we accept it and we don't talk. A governor has a convoy of 15 cars. You want to jump in the 16th one and to be part of the convoy because you are the governor's friend. You go to government house, they serve you champagne, and you're not asking him where he got the champagne from and whose money he's using to spend to buy the champagne. We are all culpable. Every single one of us sitting and listening today, we are culpable because we tolerate a lot of these things, and we go back and vote that same person in power the next time he comes back asking for your votes. You don't ask him what he did the last time. You're like one of the governors whose father said, you are a thief, you will go to jail. Then the same father said, if a man hasn't performed well, let him repeat the exam. Let him repeat the governorship. We must be able to speak truth to power and deny ourselves some of the comforts that we want. After all, how many cars can a man drive? How many houses can he sleep in? How many clothes can he wear? What are we looking for in life? They stole a 100-year-old woman the other day. They gave her money. She gave them the money back. She says, at my age, I don't need money. How much land does a man need? We cannot stop looking for all these things, and therefore we cannot hold people who should be serving us. We cannot hold them accountable because we also want to be like them. So practically, we must talk to ourselves. We must tell ourselves the truth. We must look at one another in the face and tell them that these things cannot continue. These people cannot continue to hold us to ransom. The tail cannot continue to wag the dog. And we must say to them, enough is enough. Let me say one last thing, or two last things. I was speaking to one of the leaders of Nigeria, and I was asking him, how do we solve the problem of Nigeria? And he was looking at me and he was shaking his head. He says, Nigeria has not got to the precipice and to the bottom of the pit where people will now rise up and say that enough is enough. The reason that Japan became transformed and China became transformed is that when they were totally oppressed by the British and they were given alcohol and drugs and the economy was going to be destroyed and they no longer knew where to go, every Chinese man rose up and said, enough is enough. And they said, never again will our country go through this kind of problem where we don't know where we're going, our left from our right, and where economy is going. You know, a lot of us Nigerians were so tolerant. You know, the other day they wanted to sell me another passport and say I should buy the passport of Mauritius or buy the passport of somewhere, so when push comes to shove, I can jump on the plane and run away from Nigeria. I said, I'm not buying. I said, Nigeria belongs to all of us. A lot of you I'm looking at, you have second passports also. You have alternative, you have plan B. So you are not at that place where you want to say to the government and the governors of Nigeria, stop it. Enough cannot be enough. You cannot continue. When this man didn't do well in 2019, why did you bring him back? And you brought him back. You voted for him. Or you didn't go to vote. You stayed in your houses watching soccer, watching this thing, getting on with your wives and your children and your this and that, and you allowed him to come back after 4 years of disgrace and mess up and bring in our economy.
Thank you, sir.
Honestly, you know,
Thank
don't
you
bring
so
me
much.
here again.
Thank you, Pastor.
Honestly, let us tell ourselves the truth. It is us elites that are the problem
Pastor
of
stood
Nigeria.
up. Oh, my Lord.
It is us elites. We refuse to face the devil in the face and tell him to buzz off. We sit in our comforts, looking for small things to get on. If we don't talk to ourselves and tell ourselves the truth, Nigeria will go to the dogs. We know who is a good leader in Nigeria, yet we will not vote for him. Because we want to vote for loyalty, we want to vote for somebody here and there, we want to vote for our own benefits and things like that. No, we must vote for the truth. And we must look for the people who are truthful. And the problem is that the people who are truthful will not have the cash to be running up and down buying $100 million. It's not possible.
Thank you,
We
sir.
need to go and look for the people who are truthful people and bring them to the fore and say, this man, we will back you up.
Or this woman.
Or this woman. She's
Hallelujah.
running for local government. Please vote for her. But I think you shouldn't be in Port Harcourt running for local government. Go back to my
I live at home. I was brought in here, imported,
Very
cha-cha, just for this. I live in Benin City, and all the time I'm back home. That's story for another day. SAN, you have a contribution
Thank
as we
you.
round off, please.
I just wanted to add to this because there are formal and informal channels of being able to bring accountability to bear. One of the formal process is to ask the question, how many of us here belong to political parties? How many of us belong to any political party? So that's the problem there. Because the political party is the formal place where ideas and government can be put in place. And if you don't belong to, every person elected comes from a political party.
Yes, sir.
So if you don't belong to a political party, you have lost. You can't be a delegate, okay? Then the other channel will be civil society. Those of us who are NGOs, how many of us belong to civil society, NGO, professional body, all the arts? So that's another. Make sure you are active. You occupy the space, and you keep on to, have a message. And then religious body. This forum, for instance, is an act in the right direction. It's a very, laudable act in the right direction. We are speaking to power. We are able to bring people to come and speak their mind. A presidential candidate at least spoke to us. That is an act in the right direction. Then we talked about illiteracy. I found out that most of our people, once we become elite, we disdain our local language. We try to think that our accent, will be affected. I would try to think that because I am Yoruba, my English will be Yoruba language is very, very musical. It doesn't matter. You can still go back to your phonetics or whatever. But we owe it, education, to understand both in your local language and in your colonial matters language, gives you a vantage position to educate the other persons. I always find it interesting when I'm forced. Nowadays I'm forced because I live in Ibadan. I'm forced most of the time to speak the local language on platforms, and I found out that it's like a bicycle. It's there. Just get on it and you are going. So you are able to carry the message. We owe ourselves to also speak the truth uncolored. And so when you want to share on social media, please find out whether that thing is true. If it's not true, don't share it. A lot of us share garbage and recycle things that are not edifying and that are not truthful.
Thank you, sir.
And in your private space, educate members of your family. If you are the one that's politically savvy, don't be intolerant with your wife when he's asking elementary questions. Men are like that. Ebiko, sit down for there. You don't understand what we are talking. Let her understand, because she's going to vote. And there was a year I explained something to my wife. She disagreed with me. We got to the polling vote. She voted for a candidate. I voted for my candidate. I was very happy.
Yes.
So let's explain things. We owe it a duty for each and everyone. They say little drops of water becomes a mighty ocean. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Final words, Doctor?
Thank you very, very much. I want to thank all the organizers and everybody here. At this time in our nation's history, I would say the delegates have done their own. Now it is time for us to do our bit, to choose the leader that will take us to the next phase, especially at this time when the nation is at the precipice, when the insecurity is overwhelming us. We don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. At times I ask, are we going to make it to 2023? So when you have a choice to choose the leader, I want to ask, let's not just take that 5,000 naira, that 10,000 naira, that bag of rice, the bag of beans that you eat right now, and mortgage your future, mortgage the future of your children, mortgage the generations, mortgage this nation. What is going to be on the line this time when you choose is whether the country, Nigeria, survives as one, as a nation. If we choose wrong, we'll have ourselves to blame.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Major takeaway that is woven amongst what all the responses is, we must hold ourselves accountable first, and we must not be afraid. We must do things without fear. Please appreciate all our speakers, our keynote speakers for today, and panelists. As we rise for a group photograph, please, I'll invite the president of the Men's League to please join them, and the chairman of the planning committee, the annual lecture planning committee. Where is he? I know he was here a few moments ago. To please come join them in this quick shot to savor the memory of the Forum 2022, asking the question, what do Nigerians want? If it's been a great event so far for you, please put your hands together. For the entire Men's League for putting it together. We still have one video coming up right away. Please, the very Reverend Sir, our resident minister, please welcome him with an applause as he comes forward. Thank you, sir. Who are we looking at? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. A round of applause once again, if you don't mind. Yes. Our final keynote for today comes by way of a video and speaks to the topic, the economy Nigeria needs to break forth. We've talked about the leader, we've spoken about the security, and we've also spoken of the law and restructuring. So now the economy. Our speaker is also the lead sponsor for the Forum 2022. And that is Echo. Thank you. And that is the CEO and Managing Director, Heritage Bank, in person of Dr. Ifyesi Mama Precious Sekibo. He was unable to make it, and so he has a video prepared that will speak to this topic. The speaker is Mr. Segun Akonji. Please keep your eyes on the screen. Thank you.
So he has mandated me to reach out to you and to share his thoughts as far as strategies to boost economic prosperity is concerned. My name is Segun Akonji, and I also work here at the Heritage Bank. So on that note, I would just want to talk to us on a few points which I believe can help us develop an underlying philosophy towards ensuring that we start to assess prosperity and bring that kind of opportunity to the mass of our people. Because a prosperous country is a country where the mass of the people enjoy a good life. So if we're talking about strategies to boost economic prosperity, I think one of the things we all say is that no peace, no prosperity. So on that note, I would say security is the foundation of prosperity. And so you cannot achieve
Please, we apologize for the technical issues. We're going straight away to the communique, the presentation of the communique. I have the pleasure to invite Mr. Moffat Ekoriko to come and present the communique. Please, a round of applause for him.
I would have preferred to stand, but I'm asked to sit and do it. Okay. The distinguished guests, the speakers, and members of the audience, I'm here to present the communique of what has been the proceedings of the second edition of the International Colloquium de Forum with the theme, What Do Nigerians Want? The colloquium today has looked at what the problems of Nigeria are. And Nigeria is still suffering as a result of the release of colonialism, the political structure we have, the current constitution, which a lot of people say are not fit for purpose, huge and endemic poverty, ethno-religious violence, increasing debt-to-revenue ratio, loss of national territorial integrity, chronic corruption and impunity across the country. We still do not have the kind of leadership we would love to have. Our leaders are still beset by nepotism. There is the lack of connection between the leadership and the people they are leading. There is a prevalence of huge clusters of population caught in unfortunate intergenerational poverty cycle. In other words, we are not creating opportunities for upward mobility for most of our people. And then the current configuration of the Nigerian Federation is not fit for purpose. People can't really say whether we are running a true federalism or not. What are the solutions? What kind of country do Nigerians want? We want a country with leaders with vision and national perspective, boldness, exposure, seven-minded mindset, strategic direction, compassion, and the competence to deliver to the aspirations and happiness of the people. We need security. We need good transportation networks. We need power to be able to grow the economy. We need to secure our borders. We need good physical infrastructure. And we need to create socio-economic opportunities for the largest possible number of people. We need to enact a system of regional government that works. Government should be able to work at all levels. And we need a country with the right moral and civic education. We need to rebalance the constitution to accommodate the restructuring process. We need to grow our economy. We need to improve the social indices. What is the roadmap? The roadmap is number one. Competent people need to get actively involved in determining the leadership and the direction of the country. It is one thing to complain, it's one thing to say these are the things that should be done, but it's another thing to get involved so that we can get it right. We need to work out the right type of federation. The colloquium believes that if we can have true federation, then different units of the country should be able to grow, and the whole country would gain at the end of the day. We need to move from borrowing for consumption to borrowing for production. Nigeria is perhaps one of the few countries in the world where the country borrows not to invest, but to consume. Whether you are talking of fuel subsidy or even the debt we are incurring to service our recurrent budget. We need to increase our investment in human capital development. We need to invest in education. Finally, we need to develop a consciousness of holding our leaders accountable. That is the abridged communique. The full one will be released and published in some national newspapers. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Please, let's put our hands together once more. Thank you, Mr. Ekoriko. Just a few announcements. We have for sale, it's a publication of the Men's League of Christ Church. It's called The Christian Message. It goes for 1,000 naira. So please, on your way out, do well to pick a copy, and pick a copy for your friends as well. We're almost winding to a close. Permit me, with very profound respect, to invite the president of the Men's League, Christ Church, Port Harcourt, Barrister Sotonye Etomi, for the vote of thanks. Please put your hands together for our president.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my task at this point is a very simple one, and it is just to say thank you, everyone. However, you agree with me that just doing that will be inappropriate. And so permit me to be specific to some key stakeholders to this event. First of all, I'd like to thank the Almighty God for bringing us to the end of this event peacefully, and of course for giving us a fair weather. Please put your hands together for the Almighty, and I'm sure we've all enjoyed it. Furthermore, let me thank all the keynote speakers for their insights and in-depth research and for their deliveries of their presentations. Thank you, keynote speakers, and we say God bless you. We'll further go on to thank the heads of churches who have supported us. From where they were, they have always been, and today, they also showed that support to us. I want to thank the Church Council of Christ Church, particularly the ministers, the resident minister and the assistant resident ministers, for all the support and the prayers, towards this program. Furthermore, I'd like to thank the members of the planning committee. It actually took a lot of sacrifice of time, resources, finances, sleeplessness, but at the end, we thank God that things have gone successfully. Thank you very much for your sacrifice. We just heard the communique. I want to thank the group and members of the communique committee for a job well done. There are a lot of young people, young persons who are standing all around us. They are actually volunteers from the church and from outside the church to ensure that things go smoothly, in this event. To you youths, bravo. Thank you very much. And let's continue to have volunteers who will continue to make sacrifices for this country. And of course, to all of you, such a wonderful audience you have been. Clap for yourselves. Thank you very much. God bless you. To the media and others, and everyone who has played a role to make this event a success, I want to say God bless you. Thank you very much. And as we all go back to our different homes, my prayer is that the Lord will take us back safely and remain blessed in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you. Oh, okay. Sorry, further pictures are here.
Please, one more photo session with Mr. President of the Men's League, the chairman of the Annual Lecture Planning Committee, our keynote speakers, and the representative of Dr. Ife Sekibo, who is the regional head, South-South and Southeast at the Heritage Bank, Mr. Frigbene Briggs. Please come up for one more shot. Thank you so much. All ministers here present, ably led by our resident minister. Please join in this shot. Thank you, sir. Assistant resident ministers here with us from Port Harcourt and Yanagwa. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Well done, sir. Please, the President, Women's League. We'll ask that you join us up stage. Senior Advocate, sir, we need you up here. Thank you, sir. Sit right next to Uncle Otoyi. All right, are they properly positioned? Photographer, are they properly positioned? Okay. Everyone, please look at the camera and smile and say the forum. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you.
So please avail yourselves of a copy on your way out. At this juncture, would invite the Assistant Resident Minister, Christ Church, Port Harcourt, Very Reverend Dr. Ivan Ekong, to take the closing prayer. So may we all rise, please.
Let us pray together. Heavenly Father, our God, we are so grateful to you. We thank you for the grace you have given us all to be here. We thank you for the members of the planning committee. We thank you, O Lord, for Men's League and the entire membership of Christ Church, Port Harcourt. Thank you for our sponsors. Thank you for each and every one of us, O Lord, who left other important things, O Lord, to be here. We thank you for the nation, Nigeria. We thank you for your love, for your mercy. Lord, you have helped us, O Lord, to have this successful curriculum. Thank you for Forum 2022. To you alone be all the glory. Lord, you have helped all our speakers, O Lord, to speak as you have given them utterances. Thank you for the voice of the church that the nation has heard today. We pray,